Welcome. On today's show, we're going to do a test. We're going to use the Ninja to do a TenderCrisp, aka a pressure cooking and air frying of some yams, aka sweet potatoes. We're going to make some French fries that we're going to fresh cut using my Gander Mountain French fry cutter, and then we're going to pressure cook them, and then we're going to throw them into the air fryer and let it crisp up and see how it turns out. Some people like to try that because they think that it allows the French fries to be tender on the inside and crispy on the outside. And I don't know if I'm convinced of that or not, and I'd like to see what you think about that. So why don't you join me as we do a test of the Ninja doing a pressure cook and air frying of some sweet potato French fries. All right, the fun part, right? We're about to make a mess here. These are sweet potatoes. In the U.S., we call them yams because Congress said we can, so thank you, Congress. But these are not to confuse you with the stuff in Africa. When it comes to getting sweet potatoes, you want them to be straight, not curved. And in this case of a thing like this here, I don't want them too wide because it's going to give me a problem. So the answer is, can this kerchunk? Yes, under certain conditions. So I'll show you that. But yeah, we've had fun not doing it the right way, and then this thing is not happy, to say the least. So before each use of this, I want to lubricate these guides so they don't get any unusual wear and tear on them. And so basically I'm using a food grade mineral oil just because of the proximity to food. I don't want to use WD-40. I don't want to use any kind of grease. I suppose if it was food grease, you can. But this stuff's pretty cheap, and you can get it at any pharmacy, and you might be able to get it in some supermarkets. So we just rub a little bit on there, and we're good. I don't want to use Crisco or olive oil or anything like that because I don't want things to gum up and oxidize and get ugly. Another interesting step is make sure your potato fits. This guy's kind of big, right? And you put him in there, and he's clearly not going to fit. So let's cut him. I don't really have a problem. I'm just going to cut him in half because he is long. Now you can see these things are kind of hard, but he goes good. And the other ones look like they're going to fit. This one here has a slight curve to it, so we're going to cut him in a second. This guy is just flat. They're just flat out too wide. This guy, there's a lot of resistance going through these cutters. So I always cut these things in half. Lengthwise, just to make it easier. And I'm doing it lengthwise so it doesn't really impact the shape of our French fries much. And just a little hard there. And this one's longer, so this is going to be a little fun. So imagine doing that on the countertop of this thing. Breaking things left and right. We don't want to go through that. That doesn't look good on the video, right? All right, so let's take this first guy. So without any further ado,
I want to see.
Oh shoot, here comes the peanut gallery. So I'm not worried about having a flat edge or not because it's going to wedge really nice. And I'm not going to manhandle it too much. We're going to get a nice little slow start, right? And we're going to go. Oh, make sure you got your little chunkers down, right? Because it's going to get ugly. Make sure it's not wet so it doesn't slide. And
wow. Those are a lot harder than regular potatoes.
They're very hard. These things are almost like rocks. And when you just go through, see, I have to actually pull these things out. Well, technically, I don't have to because I'm kind of doing them in succession here. So this one's so short, so. Oops, that was kind of scary. Let's do another one. Amy's terrified.
Go, 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 go.
Oh, he was a wimp. He didn't go through. All right. So let's get another one. I feel like a ninja here. Ha! So, okay, this one's gonna be kind of fun. He's a big guy. Oh, but he made it through. I have news for you guys. I did this without cutting these things in half, and let me tell you, I spent an hour cutting these guys out of these little squares. It was gory. All right, so we're just moving along here. Let's see if we have any problems with this guy. Wow. All right. Come on, guy, come out, come out. Sometimes I gotta pull these little guys out. I don't like to leave them in there because I'm afraid it's gonna jam the next guy. And we're on the last one. How much problems can we have? Wow! And it went through just fine. All right. So we didn't really have any major problems here. So the answer is yes, it can cut. Just make sure the pieces are relatively narrower. If they're wide, it's more resistance because it can't push through something that's like the size of your palm, but something that's, you know, maybe like a couple fingers or so width, that's not a problem at all for this guy. So let's get this contraption ready for cooking. All right, now that we got our guys cut, and I just want to show you really quickly that some of the longer ones are kind of long, ooh, but these guys are actually kind of small here. They're maybe a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. If you're cutting steak fries, aka like size your thumb thickness, then cooking times might differ from what I'm showing you here. But for these things that cut, it's really good. First step here is we're just going to season these bad boys here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil, not a whole lot, but I want to show you that you can do it with sweet potatoes, especially considering, you know, people have dietary needs and stuff and health concerns, and maybe they like sweet potatoes better, right? Difference in the starchiness compared to other stuff. So we just throw these things in here. I'm just going to, we'll just throw the whole thing in there. And we're just going to do a little quick toss here. Get them coated and happy. And then they'll be ready for the pressure cooker. All right, we're getting closer to the golden wonderness known as French fries, right, with each step. So I just have a cup of water because we're going to be pressure cooking. So put a cup of water in there. We're going to put this basket in here that we're ultimately going to be cooking stuff in because that's what you do, right? And you can do, I don't know, how you want to do this. If your goal is you're going to make a lot of stuff, you can probably heap it a little bit, right? And get all your pressure cooking done at once. But the problem is we need this ultimately to be single file for the air frying part of it. So it kind of defeats the purpose if you make a big old heap and now you got to take a bunch of the stuff out that's been par cooked and stuff, and how you manage that. But that's up to you, right? Time savings, as long as you don't cheat too badly. I'm going to reserve a lot of these guys here for something else. So I'm not worried about cramming them in too much. We just want them in here. And I don't know. So besides the 1 cup of water, arbitrarily you can put some salt maybe in the water if you want a chance of the salt might infuse into the potatoes. I did a little testing. I didn't really pick it up. I tasted more salt on the surface than getting infused. But that's up to you. You're the cook. You can do lots of stuff, right? And the more you play with it, the more you can make up, you know, how you want to change things up. So for now, I'm not going to salt the water or anything like that. We are going to get the lid on, right? That's important. So first step here is to get this baby lined up. All right, and with the lid, you want to get the arrow there lining up with the arrow there. And we just kerchunk, and guess what? He's good. Over here, I know you can see my fingers, but you just can't see the details because the handle's in the way. But we got vent over here by where the red pop-up guy is, and then the word seal is over on the opposite side. We just need to make sure that the venting thing is over towards the seal, away from the red. And then we're good there. All right, so let's go ahead and plug it in. And then we're going to hit the pressure a couple of times to wake them up. High is what we want. And the time, I'm going to actually, oops, 0. I'm going to do it for 1 minute on this one, and we're going to hit start. If you're doing steak fries or something that's really large, you can go ahead and do it for 2 minutes. I probably wouldn't really recommend to do it much more. This guy here, I don't want to mush him. And so in my case, with the little bit that I got, we're just doing it for the 1 minute. He'll come up to pressure, and then he'll do the countdown, and then we'll be doing the quick release in just a few minutes. All right, so our little 1 minute countdown, it's in the little keep warm mode. We're gonna go ahead and take this little thing over here. We're just gonna go ahead and say vent. Oh! Sorry, not as dramatic as Amy going, woo! So we're doing what's called a quick release. You know, it'll probably take a minute or so. All right. Is it gonna drop on its own? Oh, and it did. All right, so it dropped. That means we can open this. And oops. You want to make sure you open this guy in a way that the steam doesn't hit you, and ideally in a way that the condensate in here, if you see a little bit of water right there, doesn't drip all over the fries. One of the enemies of getting crispy fries is having a lot of water. So sometimes you may need to take a little towel and get up any moisture and stuff, and then you can go ahead and proceed with that. So one of the things we got to do is we got to get the water out of here. Obviously, if you're going to go ahead and you know, do a lot of fries, that's one thing. But here, this is the only thing we're doing. So let's get this bad boy out of here. Get that. Voila. Yay. Drip some of the water out. And I'll be back in a second once I drain the water. This is what happens when you let your wife be the director and she's hungry and you haven't fed her. And I don't think tequila has much of a nutrition value. So we can look in here and it looks a little on the wet side, and that's probably understandable because, well, we just pressure cooked them, and that will do it. It's got moisture. We're trying to get these guys crispy in a moment, so any water is just going to steam. So I just want to clean it up just a little bit. These guys are going to be just a little soft. Now maybe if you had steak fries or something bigger, these guys wouldn't be, I don't want to use the word mushy, but I'm going to say that because if you try to pick them up, they will bend and break. A second ago, they were hard as nails. Now they're really tender. They will crisp, but you know, you just have to be careful. Right now they're kind of in a tender stage. Maybe if you use low pressure, that might not get them as conditioned as they are right now, but the bottom line is we just want the insides to be tender. We want the outsides to get crispy because that's what we want, right? So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and use a device that Amy just got the other day. It's an Evo Oil Sprayer. We had a Misto, and the Misto sucked. I mean, you had to pump a bunch of air and stuff, and it squirted, and it was ugly. This guy has a wide spray range, so he's pretty cool. Just a couple of pumps, and I'm good. So, yeehaw, I think I'm good. And I don't know, just for giggles, we're gonna put a little more salt on these little guys for what it's worth. I mean, for the most part, you're just doing fries. Put salt, you're good. Or wait until you're done and then hit them with salt or whatever you want. But I'm just doing this because I'm American and that's what I do, right? We have these in a single layer, which means they have the best chance to crisp. If you have them where they're not exposed to the air as well, then it's going to be unevenly crispy, unevenly cooked, and it's going to be a mess. So do it as close to being single layer as you can, and life goes on. If you're not using a Ninja, if you're just using a Instant Pot to do the first part and then an air fryer to do the second part, that's groovy too. It's just the Ninja kind of allows you to do it all in the same apparatus, right? So we will continue with this. We're done with the pressure cooker lid. We're now going to use the air fryer lid, right? The one that doesn't come off. So we just close it. Ooh, see how easy that is? And now we will turn it on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cook this initially for 8 minutes at 400 degrees. We're going to hit the TenderCrisp a couple times. Oop, once does it. Bump them up to 400. And we're going to back the time down to 8 minutes. That way, at least and we'll hit the start button. It'll warm up in a few seconds and then it'll start cooking and doing its countdown stuff. I say 8 minutes for a reason because with sweet potatoes, it doesn't take long for them to start changing colors, and you'll see what I'm talking about. With russets and other potatoes, 8 minutes isn't bad, maybe 10 minutes, somewhere in that area, and then you're going to want to do your initial flipping. Those potatoes, you might cook for 15 minutes, you might cook for 17 minutes total at 400 degrees. With sweet potatoes, and it could be because the sugar content's kind of weird in them, they start to I want to say burning a little bit. They don't really like the high temperature as much, but you kind of need for crisping. So with them, you really have to keep a close eye on them. So at 8 minutes, I never advise you go watch a TV while you're cooking, but at least this thing will make noise and let you know, oops, it's time to take a look at it. And then you can shake the basket and then keep an eye on them for another 3 to 5 minutes. All right, this thing is almost down. Let's go ahead and get a couple more minutes on here before it runs out on us. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at this. So we can definitely say it looks pretty in there. I don't know. Let's flip without burning ourselves. I don't know if that's doing much, but I made an effort. Let me get my trusted things in here. So it looks like they are drying out a little bit, which is always a good thing. They had been sizzling, which is good. All right, so since this doesn't really resemble anything crispy like a French fry that I'm aware of, let's go ahead and close the lid and let it go for a few more minutes. All right, this is like an intermission here of sorts. They've been in there for a total of 12 minutes now. Just getting a little crispy on the ends. Overall, still not there. So we're going to keep going. The goal is to keep checking on them frequently. Please do not abandon them. Come back and come to find out, your smoke detector is, 3-alarm fire mode. Keep an eye on them. Life will be good. So let's give them a couple more minutes here. All right, we've run this guy now in air fry mode for maybe 17 minutes. I'm not 100% convinced that maybe this whole pressure cooking followed by air frying is the way to go. So we might just have to go the real way, right? Pure air frying. All right, so tonight we did an interesting process. We pressure cooked the French fries first to get them tender, and then we air fried them to make them nice and crispy on the outside. Or at least that's what the goal is, right? Now these are sweet potatoes, and like I said, some people will only eat sweet potatoes for dietary reasons, so I thought I'd give them a try, right? Plus I never done it with these things before. I mean, I usually use russets. So without further ado, got some ketchup on there. We have a little bit of crispy, mostly on the ends. You can kind of look at the plate here. The ends, and I'm not sure why, like I said, I don't know if it's the sugar content in these things or not, but the ends tended to get towards more of a burning than more of a crisping the longer you leave it in. These were in for a total of 17 minutes in the air fryer, minus me taking them out and taking a little test. Amy was wondering, why do I only have half a plate of these things? Why don't I have more? Well, the air fryer doesn't really have a lot of room in that tray, and then of that, I didn't really bog it down too much because I wanted to make sure there's plenty of air to do the best job, right? I don't want it to just be crammed full of stuff. So this is more of a test, and the jury's out. Maybe if you try russets instead with a little different starch, the way they're made, maybe that will be a little more crispy. A lot of people have different ways to make their fries crispy. I, of course, prefer the traditional way with oil. But if you have these things and you put them in a traditional oven with some oil on them, they crisp up nice too. I'm not quite sure with the Ninja how good the air fryer on this thing is. But what I'm thinking about is putting the Ninja up against one of our dedicated air fryers. I'm thinking about taking the same fries that we kerchunked tonight, but they haven't been pressure cooked. And that way it's apples to apples. That way we do the Ninja versus a regular air fryer and see which one can crisp these up better, or at least make them more tastier. So stay tuned for that. But these are edible, but they're definitely not what I would call crispy. So the whole idea of trying to make them tender by pressure cooking, I don't think that went. So if you see that on the internet and people are trying that, maybe with bigger fries, maybe. But these small ones definitely don't need that. I think the pressure cooker just kills them, and then there's no chance to air fry. And then for the Ninja haters, that's just an opportunity for it not to perform very well. But let's try them with no water on them, just straight air fry them the way they're meant to be. Yum. If you like this video, please subscribe, give us a comment and a like, and visit our website at amylearnstocook.com. We're also on Twitter and Pinterest at Amy Learns to Cook, and we're on Instagram at Cookin' with Amy. Oh, we did have a casualty. See this guy? He didn't go through the kerchunker, so we had to fish him out the hard way. It took a while. So these things are hard, and you just have to be careful and feed them through that little guy. If you got a motorized one or a vertical one, maybe they operate a little differently, or just take a knife and cut them the way you want to. But the kerchunker did a pretty good job, but you just gotta be careful. If they turn sideways, it's over. One of the things I want to do at the beginning is every use, I do a quick lubrication job there on the guides, because I don't want them to get bad wear and tear. This here is mineral oil. You can get this stuff at any pharmacy pretty much. This is basically a laxative, so if you have somebody who has constipation, they can... That goes in the outtakes.
No, it doesn't.
I even cut my finger doing it too, so I don't recommend it. But, uh-oh. Houston. Okay. He just did what you don't want to happen. Did he bent?
Sideways.
Yeah, I think he bent on me. So that's not good. I'm going to try something horrible here, see if I can force it through. But yeah, it's not going. So you have to be careful. The straighter the pieces, the better. This guy just flat out got twisted on me. So